Good afternoon. It's the Pit Stop, where we are your weekly racing show, and we focus on IndyCar, we focus on NASCAR mainly here on the program. I'm Stephen McCollum, and we look back at racing last weekend, the news around the sport, and we look ahead to this weekend in racing as well. Every week here, you can watch the show on demand on YouTube. Just go to TME Media AZ, or you can just search the Pit Stop with Steven. It'll pop up for you. As well, if you don't like YouTube, you prefer other online streaming sites, well, you can go over to Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media. Well, that's where you can find us over on Rumble. And all of our programming that we do here at TME Media Arizona, well, it's all on Rumble and also on YouTube as well. Then you can also find all of our programming, except for McCollum on Business, with all of our programming, including this one, on your favorite podcast systems: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, Podchaser. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll find our shows. Just search the Pit Stop with Steven or the Pit Stop Talk. All one word there. It'll pop right up for you as well. Don't forget to follow the show on X. That is at Pit Stop Talk, the Pit Stop Talk. And also join there and then join the conversation with us during the racing as well. Last weekend, IndyCar was at Markham up there outside of Toronto. NASCAR was at Richmond here. And then before we go into this weekend's racing, and it's going to be a fun weekend this weekend coming up, New Hampshire for NASCAR. But more importantly, new race here for IndyCar, right? The streets of Washington, D.C. coming up in that Freedom 250. We'll look ahead at those later in the show, but we can't go look ahead until we look back. Here we go with IndyCar up there at the streets of Markham. Now, there's a new track up there outside of Toronto. First time these guys have raced on it. Has that hairpin turn, which was interesting to watch the guys with that sharp turnaround there as well. And this race did start a little bit slow, but it did become a gem of a race as it went on throughout the night, or throughout the afternoon, I should say. 258 on-track passes occurred. 242 of those passes, well, it was for position as well. Those totals are the most recorded for the event, and this event has been around since 1986. Bobby Rahal back in the day won the first race, but those races were all at Toronto's exhibition place. This is the first race there in the actual streets of Markham there, a temporary track put up. But it was an interesting race because of how it ended, right? Pitting at lap 69, well, and then losing the lead. Came out of the pits in 7th place as well. We're talking about Marcus Ericsson right now. Well, it was a fantastic run for him. He made some spectacular passes on the racetrack. He even passed his own teammate, Will Power. Got to series leader Alex Palou as well and blew by him after a couple laps. Well, he did all of that and captured the victory up there in Canada. Well, what am I talking about when there was some questionable or daring passes? I should say questionable, but daring passes out there. Well, let's look at one of those passes. Ericsson's risky pass of Will Power. Anyone, please.
41 for Power, 40 for Ericsson. There's basically a dead heat on that. There's Palou starting to struggle on tires.
Here comes Ericsson. Up the inside, contact with his teammate, but makes it through. Lights up the rears, off the hairpin. Both of them will have lost time in the battle to Palou. But when you talk of the fastest lap of the race, James, 1:14.2. That's one of the fastest laps, full stop, through qualifying, practice. That's the kind of pace that Ericsson's running right now.
So you just saw one, the hairpin, and then you saw the risky move, right? He stuck his nose in there. Will Power coming around that corner, made contact with them. That could have knocked either one of them out if the contact was in the right spot. The other thing I want to point out here as well, we get that footage there from the IndyCar X page. Folks, it's amazing how they've done their footage out there, splitting that up and seeing the in-car as well as the broadcast feed. Loved it 100%. Make sure you follow IndyCar on X as well. You get some excellent forces out there. Now, Ericsson, he ended up with a 7.5305 second advantage coming into that finish line in the checkered flag. So it was a great comeback victory. And what made it even a little bit better with Marcus Ericsson, well, it was a driver that had 63 race victory drought out there. Hey, anytime you do that, let's first of all look at him going to the checkered flag. Indy 2, please.
Ericsson came into this season saying, I need to be more aggressive. I need to put my career in my own hands. And boy, has he done that. He's led, believe it or not, the third most laps of any driver this entire season. That is how good he has been. But the results ultimately haven't been there until today. He has risen to the top through chaos, and from the rubble he has created one of his finest victories, not just in IndyCar, but in his open wheel career. Possibly Marcus Ericsson's day of days. There is something about this guy on a new track when it throws the unexpected. Ericsson rises to the fore and to the top step of the podium. Ericsson wins on the streets of Markham.
And I left that in there a little bit longer just because I want to show you guys, right? 63 leads the third most laps led here this season, and not able to get into that victory lane. Gets in there after 63 race drought. Fantastic comeback, passing. That's a lot of cars from that 7th place spot, and also the guys that are having great seasons out there to get up in and get that win for Marcus Ericsson out there. Let's stop the finishing, or actually, I'm sorry. You win your first race in 63 races. We're going to go to you after the race. Here he is, Indy 3, please.
A bold strategy, the fastest, the most aggressive, and he did it. It has been 63 starts since you felt this feeling right here. What are those?
Yeah, no, it's been long enough, but we worked so hard, and the 28 crew, RVA Group's Honda today was fantastic, but I think it doesn't come as a surprise. We've had such a good year. We've been working every weekend, getting stronger and stronger, qualifying up front every weekend. We might not have got the results we deserve every weekend. I think I screamed too much on the way around. Lost my voice. But yeah, I really felt like we deserved it. And we had to work for it today. We had to work for it yesterday, so it was great.
A celebration is deserved, which he will with his team when they all get here. But real fast, we have to talk about...
Look at the elation here. 63 races start since his last win. The elation. You can take it down here as well. They go on to talk about, his passing and, from Alex Palou, like you saw, Will Power, his teammate there as well. Interesting enough, after the race, Will Power has had not a great season out there. They asked him about that, that risky pass there, and he did the teammate thing, right? He went in and said, hey, I have no admiration. Good job for him. I just wonder on the inside if there was some anger about that out there, but he did the right teammate thing. Let's throw up the finishing order here of this race at Markham here. Indy 4, please. Marcus Ericsson, I told you, number 1 here, led 21 laps in this race. Look at that. Grosjean coming in second place, 28 laps led. I was watching a lot of his stuff after the race as well, and he said he's never been happier to finish second and getting to that point. Will Power after that pass there with Ericsson. Now, Will Power still had to pass some people, like including Alex Palou there, but Will Power does finish on the podium there in the 3rd spot. As well, Honda sweeps the top 3 spots, by the way. Alex Palou there, finishing in 4th place. Pato O'Ward in 5th. Christian Lundgaard in 6th. VK there in 7th. Scott McLaughlin in 8th. Graham Rahal in 9th. Santino Ferrucci, friend of the program, gets a top 10 finish there at Markham as well. So here's the thing about this, right? Alex Palou, not a great run for him. 4th place finish here. Well, here's the names that's chasing him in the points, all behind him here, including Pato O'Ward, is what we're looking at. So it's hard to catch a guy and shrink the championship points lead that he has if you can't finish ahead of him and stuff like that. And as you see, Alex Palou, 133-point lead here over Kyle Kirkwood, who wasn't even in the top 15 there. David Malakis in 3rd place. Christian Lundgaard in 4th. Pato O'Ward, well, he finished right behind Alex Palou there, but sizable difference here as well. So Palou's 133-point lead, max points to win a race, and you have to be perfect to get 57. And that means you'd have to also have Alex Palou not get any points in a race. It's virtually impossible right now. We'll just say it. The championship is most certainly, we knew it last week, but even more so today, it is most certainly Alex Palou's championship. It's just a matter of when it's officially clinched here coming up for him as well. So, that was kind of the last gasp, and I picked Ericsson to win that race, just hoping he could get in there, and Alex Palou finishing 4th, 5th, 6th, something in that range. so we can make up some of those points and keep it kind of interesting. All the intrigue is gone here, folks. Alex Blow, another championship coming his way in the Indy circuit coming up. Next up, well, we go to the Freedom 250 in Washington, D.C. this weekend. Of course, later on in the show, we'll look ahead to this race coming up, and I'm excited. The racetrack, kind of like Arlington, goes through. Arlington went around the Cowboys Stadium and the baseball stadium there in Arlington, Texas. Well, this gets a little bit better with the Capitol, the Washington Monument on this racetrack. So this is going to be a fun one to talk about coming up, folks, later on in the program. But first, we got to keep looking back at last weekend. Richmond coming up. O'Reilly Series off here. They got a couple weeks off before they get their season finale race in. But the Truck Series at Richmond, well, it was supposed to get underway on Friday night. If you paid attention to us here, followed us at the Pit Stop Talk on X, well, you saw the race was canceled. It was canceled fairly early due to weather moving through Richmond. So they moved the truck race there to Saturday morning, our time out here on the West Coast. It was noon there in Eastern time, 9 a.m. out here on Saturday morning. And the race was dominated. I said last week here on this program, well, can Lane Riggs get a dominating race in like he has before this season? Well, the race was dominated. It just wasn't dominated by who we thought could possibly dominate it out there. That's right. Caden Honeycutt comes up and actually led 225 of the 250 laps in this race. It's the most laps that Caden Honeycutt has ever led in a single race. Not only that, he passed a cross victory lane. He had a 1.313 second lead over second place in this truck race. His teammate, Corey Heim, was in second place as well, who, of course, dominated this truck series last year. This is Caden Honeycutt's second career win, second win of the season as well, and he's got some momentum here going into this weekend's race in New Hampshire, and then, of course, the chase after that as well. Let's throw up truck one here for me. The finishing order is what we're looking at in the truck series here. Now, surprise winner in terms of Caden Honeycutt, but Corey Heim in second spot here in this race. And like I said, 225 out of 250, dominating effort by Honeycutt here. Christian Eckes in third place. Shane Van Ginsbergen, of course, coming down from the Cup Series, finished fourth here. Grant Effinger in the fifth spot. Jake Garcia in the sixth spot. Then you got Chandler Smith in the seventh spot. Tristan McKee in the eighth. Giovanna Ruggiero there in the ninth spot. And then Daniel Hemrick coming in at 10th. Taylor Ankrum, keep this in mind. He was on the outside looking in on the chase points going into this race here. We'll look that up here in just a minute, but he finishes 11th here. Tanner Gray in terms of playoff guys. Lane Riggs was a 15th place finish here in this race as well. The points leader in the truck series. Ben Rhodes is 18th. Ty Majeski, we'll give you an update on him and his championship points in a minute here. Finished 19th also in this race. So a lot of playoff guys, disappointing finishes. Some of them, the disappointing finishes didn't necessarily matter. Some of them it did, like Tyler Ankrum. But Stuart Friesen finished dead last year in this race, 36th place as well with an accident. He's the only one that didn't finish because of running out in that accident there in lap 213 for Stuart Friesen as well. So the focus, obviously, after this race here at Richmond, it was on the championship point standing. There's only one race remaining to qualify for the chase in the truck series, and that's this weekend in New Hampshire. And you don't have a lot of experience running in New Hampshire, meaning a lot of these truck drivers have never run up in New England. I'll throw up the championship points for me in the truck series, truck 2. We know Lane Riggs has obviously led the spot here. Caden Honeycutt's in second place as well. All clinching here. Chandler Smith, Christian Eckes, Gio Ruggiero, Ty Majeski clinched this weekend, folks, for the truck series chase spot. So that leaves Grant Effinger, Ben Rhodes, Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum battling it out for 4 remaining spots here as 6 are taken for the chase with this weekend's race coming up. Anytime you have a finale race of the regular season, guys are going to make some moves. Guys are going to do some questionable things out there to try to bump up and get those points. We told you Tyler Ankrum, it wasn't easy for him out there in this racetrack, but did end up finishing 11th as well. He came on into this one position outside the chase 10 driver championship eligible field. Yeah, he came in at 11, Tyler Ankrum did. Well, he had a penalty for his number 18 truck. He had too many men over the pit wall in the opening pit stop of the race. Then he collected stage points with an 8th place finish in the first stage. Well, then he started the last one as last in the next stage. He started it, last truck on the lead lap. Now, Tyler Ankrum, well, he was able to overcome the situation a mere 20 laps into that second stage run. Well, he repassed his primary person. He was battling for that playoff spot, Stuart Friesen. Stuart Friesen was in that 10th spot. Tyler Ankrum was in that 11th spot. So 10th is in, 11th is out. Well, Friesen with that 36 point there with that wreck. Well, he's in that 11th place spot now, outside looking in to the playoffs as well. Stuart Friesen ending there. Well, he brought out the third and final caution flag. Yeah, crashed by himself, no less. With 33 laps remaining, lap 213 there. So obviously it changed the standings a little bit, who's out and who's in. Ty Majeski also survived a hectic afternoon. Well, he's won at Richmond before, but he did lock into the chase after his run out there as well. Can we throw that back up for me as well? Because we're going to the race this weekend in New Hampshire, and we'll look ahead at New Hampshire coming up, obviously, later on in the program. Grant Effinger, Ben Rhodes are going to lock a spot into the playoffs unless something absolutely nutty happens. Daniel Hemrick is favored to move into the next chase round there in the playoffs, unless something bad happens there. I think this is going to be fantastic. Look at this. 3 drivers for that last spot. Tyler Ankrum's 20 points up on Stuart Friesen right now. Jake Garcia's 21 points outside. Everybody below Jake Garcia in that 12 spot. So Brendan Queen, Andres Perez de Laura, Tanner Gray, they're out of this playoffs. They're just out of it. Can Stuart Friesen or Jake Garcia make up those 20 or 21 points and catch Tyler Ankrum and knock him out of these playoffs is the question you have going into New Hampshire this weekend coming up here. So 3 guys battling for those final 2 spots. No room for error coming up. And we'll look more ahead at New Hampshire and set the stage for the regular season finale of the Truck Series later on in the show. And, of course, O'Reilly being off last week, man, they've been off for a while, right? But leading up to an exciting end of the regular season for them. But we got to go to Richmond in the Cup Series here as well. And an interesting thing happened in the Cup Series. I use stronger language than this normally in my life, so I tamed it down a little bit here. But there's a guy that shows up at racetracks a lot, normally toward the end of a season or playoff time, and I call him Joey I don't give a damn Logano. Well, folks, he showed up at Richmond officially over the weekend. He walked away from the victory, and he warned everybody that they're coming for another NASCAR championship there in the number 22. Logano claimed his second win of the season. Here's the thing, though. His second victory in the last 4 races. Yeah, he did it also in .392 second win under the lights there at Richmond. He led 95 of the 400 laps. Now, it wasn't all easy for Logano in this race. He led 6 different times on the night. He finally took the lead for the last time during a pit stop exchanges with 25 laps remaining. But even then, it wasn't an easy victory. He had to hold off Chase Briscoe, who had a very strong car all night long there at Richmond as well. Let's check out the final lap here in the Cup Series with Joey Logano winning Cup 1, please.
1 lap to go from here. Presented by Credit One Bank.
That move by Joey Logano to attack the 43 in that corner gave him a couple car lengths, and it might be just what he needs to seal the deal here in the last 3/4 of a mile.
What a thriller. Top 2 drivers who have led the most laps here tonight in Richmond are putting on quite the show and consolidating their position in the chase point standings. Joey Logano said, I want to get over the adversity that we've had here at Richmond and add another win. Well, he sure does. Joey Logano is now a 3-time winner at Richmond Raceway. We're on it now, boys. We're on it now, boys, says the 3-time Cup Series champion.
So Joey Logano finishes first place here in this. And earlier I said Joey Logano don't give a damn Logano is here in the NASCAR racing. Well, let's check in with them after the race. Cup 2, please.
Don't let the boys get hot. We're pretty strong right now.
Yeah, exactly. Don't let the boys get hot. He's warning everybody that championship is going to be mine here as they've heated up at the end of the season. It was the slowest beginning of a season for Joey Logano. Started to kind of question if he'd be able to turn it on, and boy, oh boy, has that number 22 Team Penske Joey Logano team really picked it up here over the last 4 weeks or so in the NASCAR Cup Series. Let's start the finishing order in this race as well. Joey Logano, of course, in the first place spot. Chase Briscoe, who had the strongest car of the season, led 171 laps. Joey Logano only led 95 here in this race. Austin Cindric finished third here. Denny Hamlin, who I thought would be strong here at this racetrack, and he was, finished fourth. Chase Elliott in fifth. Kyle Larson in sixth as well here in this race. Christopher Bell seventh. Josh Berry in eighth. William Byron ninth. And then Alex Bowman in that number 48 car, finishing in 10th place for him. Tyler Reddick ended up at 11th. Ross Chastain 12th. Ryan Blaney 13th. SVG 14th, folks, in this race. He is needing some good finishes in these ovals to qualify and stay on the positive side of the chase. We'll check in just a minute and see if he stays there with that 14-point finish here. Ryan Blaney, by the way, led 88 laps in this race to finish, end up finishing 13th here as well. Ty Gibbs there in 15th. Daniel Suarez in 16th right there. Other drivers, Bubba Wallace, 20th place here this weekend. Chris Buescher, 21st as well. Then we go down to Connor Zilic. We'll talk about him here coming up with some news, official news for him coming up. He finished 25th in this race. Brad Keselowski needed some big runs here, finished in 26th. Eric Jones, same thing, got bumped out of that race with Tyler Reddick the last week. Needed a good finish here, 27th place for him as well going into these last couple races. Carson Hocevar, by the way, did finish last place here, 279 laps for him, and an engine took him out. 2 races to go in the regular season after Richmond. This weekend, New Hampshire, then Bristol. Let's go to championship points here. Cup 4, please. We all know Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, and Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell clinched this weekend, but we know that they've all clinched spots into the chase. Denny Hamlin is a 1 step closer from getting the regular season title as well, with 2 races remaining coming in. And Denny Hamlin's going to be strong in New Hampshire this weekend. He's going to win the regular season championship, barring a major incident out there. So that leaves us with 7 spots filled for the chase. That leaves us, with about 8 to 9 spots here. I guess my math is bad here. Left here to fill. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano. Look at that. Joey Logano was outside the top 16 just a month ago. Look what he's done. He's up here in the 9th spot. So Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher, Carson Hocevar. Unless Carson Hocevar has a couple more last place finishes and some guys make some moves, I don't think that's going to happen. But we have those guys will be advancing into the playoff chase here coming up. No questions asked. William Byron's probably safe as well, and so is Daniel Suarez probably safe also. Can put them in the most likely in the chase wagon. I'm going to even throw Bubba Wallace in there in that 14th spot. Most likely favored to be in the chase. Here's the question you got, though. Austin Cindric at 57 points above that cut line. SVG, 50 points above that cut line. 2 races to go. Ryan Preece, 50 points out. Ross Chastain, 63 out. Brad Keselowski, 78 out. Even if you want to include Eric Jones, 81 points out. 2 races to go. It can be made up, especially if Austin Cindric or SVG stumble their toes a little bit. I'm not confident to say that we have 6 guys for 2 spots, but I will say we probably have at least 3 guys for 2 spots. I don't think, though, I think we see with 2 races to go, and we'll have to pay attention to this very closely. I think we have our playoff 16 right now. The one guy I think that can overcome here would be 2 guys I'll put credit into with New Hampshire this weekend and Bristol being the final race. Ryan Preece can have a good finish in one of these races and probably make up some of those points if SVG or Austin Cindric have a bad race here coming up. I think he's the guy most favored that could get up into that top 16 and knock out Cindric or SVG. The other guy is Brad Keselowski. Now, it's a monumental effort for him to be able to do that, but just the experience of Bristol, if he can stay within striking distance. But it's a long shot for Brad Keselowski as well. So I was going to say, if there's an outside guy doing it, it would be him out there. But I think we have our top 16. Now, some question marks and things is not written in stone. Something we have to obviously enjoy watching the next couple races. Hey, Kyle Larson, another Cup news, right? He finished 6th at Richmond. Well, thanks to weather in Iowa, he was able to board a jet immediately after the race, and he got all the way over to Iowa at Knoxville Raceway, the sprint car capital of the world, and he won the sprint car race on dirt that night. He's just an unbelievable wheelman, leaving it. Now, the weather helped him there, and then the private jet obviously helped as well. But that was fun to watch Kyle Larson be able to do those moves and get over there and win that event also for Kyle Larson. Now, next up, we have New Hampshire this weekend. We'll set the stage for New Hampshire later on the show in our look ahead section. But when we come back here at the pit stop, well, we got news around the sport. We got to talk about IndyCar news, NASCAR news as well. Then we look ahead this weekend, IndyCar, Washington, D.C. We'll set you up for that Freedom 250. Haven't done it before. Another new racetrack this weekend. Do we have a surprise winner? Does Alex Palou wrap up the championship? Then NASCAR trucks on Saturday in New Hampshire. Cup Series on Sunday, folks. We'll look ahead to those as well. Come on back. It's the pit stop. And welcome back to the pit stop here. Well, the weekly show where we focus on IndyCar and NASCAR racing. Of course, I'm Stephen McCollum, and we look back at racing last weekend. We just got done doing that, looking back at Markham and, of course, Richmond there for the NASCAR series, Markham for IndyCar. Appreciate you joining us. We're about to look ahead to news around the sport and then also ahead to this weekend's racing coming up on that. You can catch the show on YouTube. TME Media AZ is our parent company that we put everything out on YouTube. Catch this program, the main event, McCollum on Business, over there on YouTube. If you're interested in Rumble, well, over on Rumble, we have the Real Matrix. New episodes come out on Friday at noon. New episode, a second one on Dr. Fauci. Here as well, the Angry Patriot would love for you to come join him, and he just wants to give you information and open your mind and let you make the decisions over on Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media, where you can find all of our programming, including the Real Matrix, which is exclusive to Rumble. All of our programming has podcast versions as well. Of course, the McCollum Business is the only one that does not have a podcast version of it. Just search the show name, including the Real Matrix, Angry Patriot on Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, all of wherever you catch a podcast is where you can find it there. This show as well, the Pit Stop Talk, or just search the Pit Stop with Steven. Follow us on X as well, the Pit Stop Talk. Join us on the conversations around racing during the racing weekend, and of course the news of the week as well. They're on X, the Pit Stop Talk, and don't forget to give us a follow on our parent company, TME Media AZ as well. They're on X. We appreciate it coming in here, and let's get right back into the information with the news of the week. Well, it's pretty quick and easy. We're getting schedule release on the NASCAR side, but IndyCar announced this week that Shell in IndyCar, well, they announced that they have an updated formulation of Shell's 100% renewable race fuel. Yeah, it's going to be introduced for the 2027 IndyCar Series season. So new fuel coming up, a little bit cleaner of our fuel. And don't forget, it's all leading up to that new model of the car, new generation car coming out in 2028 as well. Now on the NASCAR side of things, it's official. We knew it was going to happen. We all thought it would happen. Let's put it that way. And Connor Zilisch, well, with the 48 car, right, of Alex Bowman, he's retiring from full-time racing after next year. Well, we now officially know Connor Zilisch will drive that number 48 Alley Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Now, it won't be until 2028, so we still have a season and just under a half here coming before we see him. He will be with Trackhouse still in that time frame. He signed a multi-year agreement with Hendrick Motorsports. Not only that, Ally, well, they'll remain the main sponsor of that 48 car with Connor Zilisch in it as well. Zilisch will join Hendrick Motorsports, as I said, in 2028 after Alex Bowman's previously announced a retirement from full-time competition as well. It's going to be fun to watch Connor Zilisch, the way he dominated the O'Reilly series. You know, and Trackhouse has struggled. There's no other way to talk about it. It's going to be interesting to see him with that Hendrick team coming up here in 2028. More scheduling news out there on the NASCAR side. Kansas Speedway, where they're going to host 2 race weekends coming up next season. So May 8th, 9th, and then not until October 1st through the 3rd coming up in 2027. That spring race weekend, it'll have the Cup Series action on May 9th, and then the Craftsman Truck Series, and then an ARCA Menard Series doubleheader coming up on Saturday the 8th, the day before. So triple header there in Kansas in the springtime. The Chase Race weekend will be the second one there. All 4 series, the ARCA, Truck, O'Reilly, and Cup Series. Yeah, the weekend of the October 3rd is coming up as well. That will all be Chase races that weekend. October 3rd will be the Cup race here coming up as well. So the NASCAR National Series tripleheader is going to return to Pocono Raceway next year as well. The Truck Series will rejoin the schedule at Pocono. It's going to be June 11th through the 13th there at Pocono. And then we know where we're racing in Chicago next year. There's rumors that they're trying to get that downtown Chicago street race back out there. Well, that has now been scratched. Chicagoland Speedway will return to the NASCAR calendar. It'll be a summer race, June 25th through the 27th next year. So again, no Chicago street race in 2027 from that side. Then we got kind of, I think, a sad announcement here. Track Enterprises, they came out and announced they're not going to host any NASCAR sanctioned competition. If you don't know what track they run, yeah, they run Rockingham Speedway, The Rock. Yeah, no racing at The Rock, at least NASCAR racing at The Rock in the 2027 season. Rockingham Speedway has long been regarded as one of the sport's most respected and challenging racetracks. And we're not going to see it next year on this NASCAR circuit. Then they did announce Homestead Miami Speedway. Well, they're going to have the NASCAR Championship race again next year. It'll be November 12th through the 14th of 2027. So it was in Phoenix since 2020 until this year. It's being moved to Homestead. Well, next year as well. I expect it'll be there for 3 or 4 years. Reason why, if not longer, same thing as Phoenix. The reason why, well, Homestead Miami Speedway unveiled a transformational $20 million renovation that when people show up for the championship race this year coming up, well, they're going to see the benefits of that $20 million renovation. And you put that much money into a racetrack, well, you tend to throw, your championship races there. Same thing happened in Phoenix when they got the championship race. A big renovation there as well. So I expect Homestead Miami they're going to be in a rotation. There's no doubt about that. But this renovation is going to mean we're probably there for a few more years as well. Also, as I'd be remiss not to mention, I know, the date was this week, so it's already passed, depending on when you're watching this. But August 18th, Kyle Busch Day around NASCAR as well. So every year, 8/18 becomes a day to honor the life and legacy of Kyle Busch coming up, and it's going to be a yearly event. So just mark that on your calendar, Kyle Busch fans, in the NASCAR circles as well. But now let's look ahead to racing this weekend coming up, and I am so looking forward to this weekend. I am almost giddy about it. IndyCar goes to the nation's capital this weekend, so we'll start with IndyCar right off the bat. Now, it's the first time they're racing on this temporary track around the monuments coming up. Well, you want to see the track layout? Let's load up Indy Ahead 1 here. Here's several things about this track that are interesting. One, goes around the Washington Monument. The start-finish line, the flag stand, well, lines up with, Congress right there as well. It's going to be fantastic to see. So that's a 7-turn, 1.7-mile circuit. And here's the interesting part of it. Unlike most street courses, this travels counterclockwise direction. Completely different than what you're used to seeing. Which means, folks, if you go the opposite way, 6 left turns and only 1 right turn in this race coming up. Usually on a street course, it's the opposite. Yeah, qualifying is going to be Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. our time, FS2 out there. You see right off the bat on 1, you have that long straightaway into turn 2 where you turn left. Go down to turn 3, go left again. Then you turn right there at turn 4, and then left at turn 5 there on the south side of your page, and down to 6 where you get kind of that diagonal there before you head straight back up to the first turn spot as well there, and then the flag stand leading up right there with Congress in the background. They will race around the Washington Monument as well. Now, you can see this track on Saturday. Qualifying is not till 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. out for us out here on the West Coast. There's practices before this a couple times before, so you will be able to see the track leading up to this race before even they get to qualifying. Then the race out there, well, the pre-race show, which should be spectacular seeing those. I've already seen videos this week of cars out on this track, just pace cars and regular cars getting a view of it. 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday morning, which means 8:30 out here for those of us on the west side of the country. Well, that'll be the pre-race show on Fox coming up, and that'll lead you right into the 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. race here coming up for the NASCAR IndyCar Series in Washington, D.C. It's the Freedom 250, so you're going counterclockwise on the racetrack, and then also 250 laps. Here's the setup kind of for this weekend in D.C., right? An invitation came to race the U.S. Capitol from a sitting president. That was the first thing. Now they built the track and kind of laid it out. There's going to be an epic flyover coming up. High-speed drives past the Washington Monument. The checkered flag is going to wave around the U.S. Capitol, serving as the backdrop. And the flag stand, as I said, is like right in the middle of the Capitol buildings there as well. Now, remember, they moved this race up to 250 miles just a few weeks ago. Stamina, endurance, strategy is going to come into play this weekend. This is a long race. How long is it? It's going to be the longest street race in at least 4 decades. The one that was longer, 1983 race at Cleveland's Burke Lakefront Airport. And none of these drivers were even alive back in 1983. Well, a couple of our, Scott Dixon was as a 46-year-old, but most of them were not around in that 1983 timeframe or were super young. 310 miles back then. Well, this season's first 5 street races, they've averaged 180 miles in length. And we're automatically going to 250 here this weekend. The Grand Prix of Arlington was the longest one at 191 miles. They just came off of that street race up at Markham, up there outside of Toronto. That race was only 189 miles. Yeah. And normally on a street race, 2, maybe 3 pit stops are needed to convert to get to the end of this race and pick up the the checkered flag. Well, you could see 4 pit stops factor in this weekend with this 250 miles. So even with this 250-mile race, you got to factor in the heat and humidity that comes to Washington, D.C. this time of year. Right? They do say it's been extremely hot and humid there. They say it is going to cool down to reasonable levels. Well, drivers are going to have to bring their cool suits and be hydrated enough to survive this 250 miles as well. Looking at the racing coming up this weekend, because the backdrop of the Washington Monument, the Capitol, racing around Washington, is going to be the eye candy here this weekend. So in terms of the racing, I told you in the look back section, Alex Palou, he has the championship. It's just a matter of when he clinches it. So is it this weekend? We're at race 15 of 18 in the IndyCar season. So you're going to clinch it a little bit early here, and leave some unknowns for or at least no doubt coming up here for the rest of the season. But after race 15 or 14 and going into race 15, we know what races bring here on the IndyCar circuit. Could there be a surprise winner like last weekend? Right? Marcus Ericsson getting up there, passing everybody, and getting that win after 63 winless drought? Or it happens rarely here on this IndyCar circuit these last couple of years. Generally, it's hard to pick anyone but a favorite going into this race, especially this unknown race at Washington, D.C., where people haven't raced it before. One thing that gives me hope we'll get kind of a new winner out there or somebody more competitive is just because we saw it at Markham. First time on that street race, and we got a new winner. Can we see that again this weekend? But at this point in the season, it's just absolutely difficult to not go with the favorite. Alex Palou is going to win this race this weekend. But if you want to look at it and go with anyone else, if he doesn't win it, he's going to be in the top 5. Just bank it. If you want to go with anyone else to win this weekend, like I said, can you pick a surprise winner out there? I don't think so. Now, can you pick a surprise in a driver that has struggled all year? Somebody like Will Power. Can he get the win this weekend? He's got a winning pedigree, just not this year, and he struggled this year, though third place finish in Markham last week. So can you go with a guy like him? Possibly. You can absolutely pick Kyle Cookwood, Pato O'Ward. They have a chance to come up and win this race this weekend. But here at this program, I'm going to stick with the favorite. And I hate to pick the guy that is the absolute favorite, most biggest chance to win. But also, after last weekend, I was hoping Kyle Kirkwood could get up there, David Malakis could get up there and compete and finish. But you saw Alex Palou finish 4th in that race at Markham. And all of his competitors trying to keep the championship points competitive and stay in it, they all finished after him. Alex Palou, I'm just going to go with him to win this race. Because I'd also like to see him win the championship and the race at the same time. And we're getting dangerously close to that level, depending on the competition that happens this weekend. So I'm going to reluctantly go Alex Palou. I will say this, though. I gave you some, obviously, David Smalakis, Kyle Cookwood, guys to watch in this. If there is going to be another winner, I was going to pick Pato O'Ward this weekend in the nation's capital coming up. I'm looking forward to this race at IndyCar. It's not even funny how good I am looking at it. I kind of rank it up there as just a new experience. Kind of like Arlington earlier this year, Markham last week. I'm just looking forward to it on that side. So hopefully it lives up to that hype. And then we go over to New England, just up the road there for the NASCAR series coming up here. New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The Monster Mile is what we call it. 1.058 mile track up there in the New England area. Race length is going to be 301 laps. So if you do the math there, about 318.46 miles coming up this weekend. Now, the truck race doesn't race until Saturday here, New Hampshire. 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, so that means for those of us out here in the Pacific time zone this time of year, 10:30 a.m. start time for the truck race. I enjoyed the race being called on Friday last week and postponed to Saturday morning. I've come to love the truck race racing by itself on a Saturday morning. I enjoy it a lot. Well, we get it here, 10:30 a.m. Out here on the West Coast. Fox Sports 1 is where you can find this race. If you want to watch practice, you can catch it on Friday. If you miss Friday racing, Friday 4 p.m. Eastern, which means 1 o'clock for those of us out here on the left coast. Qualifying will be Friday night, 4:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 our time out here in the West. Cup Series drivers coming down to the Truck Series this weekend. Well, John Hunter Nemechek, Christopher Bell, Connor Zilich also racing in the entry level on the Truck Series. Now, the Truck Series regular season finale is officially here at New Hampshire. The pressure ramps up for the teams that are still looking for a spot in the chase. For those teams that have clinched a spot, as we showed you the championship points standings earlier in the show, well, you're going to be looking to build momentum going into the chase. There is zero room for a bad finish this weekend. The regular season finale often produces some of the most dramatic racing of the year. Every position can have a championship implications, whether it's just qualifying for the race, momentum. Got to pay attention to this here as well. And New Hampshire in the Truck Series, limited experience racing here. It's coming into this weekend. So you have a little bit of unknowns coming in on this Truck Series. New Hampshire can be a difficult place for drivers to simply rely on horsepower. Yeah, it's not about speed here at the Monster Mile. You'll need to find the right setup for the track to begin the race and adjust as necessary throughout it. But grip and tire management is an important part here for these Truck Series and can make a major difference. It comes now, especially if there's long green flag runs, which will happen in this race. Experience, crew chief, experienced crew team, and an experienced driver is going to be the key in New Hampshire coming up here. All of that being said, we'll just sum it up with pit strategy is going to play a major role in determining the winner in the Truck Series this Saturday. Crew chiefs will have to balance track position with tire management, especially as the race gets older and the laps start to wind down as well. But they're also going to have to keep an eye on fuel mileage, potential cautions that could come up late in the race. You don't want to pit and then have a caution come out right away, and then you're in the back while everybody else is kind of just waiting for you to come back or not pit. And then you have to pit during a caution and everybody else had already pitted. Scenarios, and that's where the experience of the pit crews is going to be crucial. A late race caution could completely change the complexity of this race. Drivers who appear to be in control, well, can go away quickly, and they'll be fighting for the lead and for the race. And then teams that gamble on pit strategy, it could backfire on really badly, or it could put them in a position for a surprise victory when they didn't look like they could win at all. Yes, it's easy to look at Lane Riggs as coming out of this race with a checkered flag. He was my pick last week, at Richmond for a lot of those reasons. But I'm not going to ignore Caden Honeycutt. He's been gaining momentum. See last week's win at Richmond and domination at Richmond as well. So you can't ignore Caden Honeycutt. Now, Stuart Friesen needs a good race here. I don't think he's got enough to get the win in this, but he's got enough to get a top 10 finish coming up this weekend. Tyler Ankram's another story. Okay, we got to watch him as well. Who's going to come out in front? Speed has something to do with it, but it's the experience on that side. Lane Riggs is the easy pick here in the Truck Series to go with, just like I did last week at Richmond. I actually had already penciled in Caden Honeycutt to win this race, and then he won last week at Richmond. Makes me double think that. All week long, going up and get ready for the show, I've been kind of double checking and going back on my Caden Honeycutt pick for this weekend, who I want to pick. Do I switch it back to Lane Riggs because the opposite happened as well? I don't want to pick Lane Riggs this weekend. He let me down last week. I'm going to say going into this race as well with the experience on the pit crew of Caden Honeycutt, his momentum going forward, I'm going to stick with Hayden Honeycutt to get his third win of the season, 2 in a row, coming up this weekend at New Hampshire as well in the Truck Series. I'm looking forward to seeing the strategy. The final race of the regular season for the Truck Series. Folks, they're going to know. Drivers are going to be told. You're 4 points out. Tyler Ankrum, for instance. You need to pick up 10 points here at a stage. He's going to have to make decisions like Tyler Ankram's going to have to stay out a little bit longer. Stuart Friesen's going to have to stay out a little bit longer to try to get stage points to make up some points coming up here. Does that affect them in that second stage with pitting, etc. situations? Decisions are going to be made, and then if it's even closer than that, right, it's going to come down to decisions being made. How do you move up 3 spots? Let's say Taylor Ankrum gets knocked out of this race early or a midway point. Well, Stuart Friesen on the outside, he knows he's got what he's got to do to get there. He'll get told at some point, you got to finish X position. Let's say he has to finish in 5th position or higher, and he's in the 10th spot. He's going to be making moves to try to get up there and get into that position. This is going to be a fun race in the Truck Series this weekend. Riley Series off for another week here. We don't see them again until August 28th. Next weekend at Daytona to wrap up their regular season. And that's getting a little bit of intrigue to me as well, if you think about it. And we'll talk about it next week's pit stop. But a couple weeks off, right? One race remaining if you're not in the chase to get there. One race remaining to, if you are in the chase, to get that momentum as you go into the playoffs coming up here. The weeks off is giving me a little bit of intrigue in the O'Reilly Series, but we'll talk about that next week coming up as well, because you've got the Cup Series coming up this Sunday at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, 3 p.m. Eastern, which means noon for those of us over here on the west side of the states. USA, of course, bringing us the action for the rest of the season. Well, if you want to see the Cup boys on the track before the race begins, practice and qualifying will be on Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So 7:30 to 9:30 out here on the west side of the country. True TV will have practice and qualifying for you out there. Ryan Blaney's the defending winner of New Hampshire. Yeah, Team Penske. Joey Logano just won last weekend at Richmond. And don't give a damn, Joey's back as well. They're going to be ready to go this weekend at New Hampshire. 7 drivers have clinched a spot in the chase field. There's 16 in the Cup Series to make it. 7, as I told you earlier in the show, have made it. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, and Christopher Bell are in the chase. Two races remaining. You want to keep that positive momentum going into the playoffs. But a bunch of guys can clinch this weekend via points here in New Hampshire. Kyle Larson, he needs just 10 points to clinch a chase spot this weekend. Joey Logano, also 10 points to get to that point and clinch, which would be monumental because a month ago he was outside looking in. Chris Buescher needs 17 points to clinch. Carson Hocevar, well, not a last place finish will help him out. He needs 25 points in this race to clinch a playoff spot. William Byron needs 40. Getting a little stretch here where it's probably not going to happen. William Byron 40, Daniel Suarez 52, Bubba Wallace 62, Austin Cindric 75. Well, SVG can't clinch it all unless there's a lot of help coming his way. So we'll see a couple people clinch this weekend, but we'll have a lot of spots ready to go if some guys on the outside can swallow up and shrink this gap with the 16 drivers in the playoff hunt. Keep your eye on SVG this weekend. That's going to tell you if somebody can catch it and sneak into this playoffs as well. So who can clinch the number 1 seed in the chase? Well, right now, Denny Hamlin's leading that. Right? And all he needs is 37 points in order to clinch the number 1 seed coming up here. Can he get it this weekend? Absolutely. Win a couple stages in the race or 1 stage in the race? Absolutely, he can get there. So who's good at New England, New Hampshire, up there in New England? Well, Denny Hamlin's good here, just like he's usually good at Richmond, and he had a good finish last week. Denny Hamlin has 3 wins here. Now, you got to go back to 2017 to get a win here at New Hampshire. He won here in 2007, 2012, and 2017. We got some newer guys that I'm kind of leaning towards this weekend. Christopher Bell, 2022 and 2024, his 2 wins. I expect a strong outing from Christopher Bell this weekend. We'll talk about that coming up in my picks as well. Brad Keselowski, well, same thing. You got to go back to his old days when he was with Penske. 2014 and 2020 was the last 2 times he won. He needs a absolutely strong showing this week to stay alive and possibly make a run and get into that top 16 next week at Daytona. Can he do it? Now, Joey Logano won last weekend at Richmond, but he hasn't run here in New Hampshire since 2014. 2 wins are 2009 and 2014. I do think he is strong this weekend, the way his team's running with their confidence. Ryan Blaney's won here once, and that was last year. Team Penske, even though Logano hasn't won here in a while, the way he's running, he's in the shot to win it this weekend along with Ryan Blaney, at least from that side. So we've looked at who's won this race that are active. But who's Who's had the most runner-ups here at this racetrack? Well, Denny Hamlin has 6 runner-ups positions. He runs strong here. Kyle Larson, 3 runner-ups, but not able to get that win. Kyle Larson hasn't won since, Kansas last year? I think that trend will continue, but 3 runner-ups here. Brad Keselowski, 2 runner-ups, but they are older. Chase Briscoe won over the last couple years. Runners-up, Chase Elliott won. Christopher Bell, shocker here, a runner-up for him. As he's done a lot of finishing second here this year and in years past. Joey Logano has a runner-up position along with Josh Berry. Right? So those are strong drivers. Pretty much the same amount of guys have top 5 finishes. It's a lot of the same names out there. So this weekend with those statistics, Denny Hamlin's going to be strong. Christopher Bell, the Penske brothers, all right, Blaney and Logano, as I call them the brothers out there, they're going to be in this conversation. Can somebody sneak up like a Chase Briscoe and get a win? Tire wear is going to be the thing that's going to get guys. When do you pit? When do you not out there? That leads me to Penske guys. They pit well. Now, Hendrick pits well as well. Problem is, they don't really run these types of racetracks really well. I'm talking about Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson. They can be there toward the end. It's just getting that win. It's just a little bit lacking from that side. Pay attention to Logano and Blaney this weekend. Watch Christopher Bell. My problem is with Christopher Bell is I would actually pick him this weekend. I picked him a lot this season. And every time I do, he finishes second. I can't pick Christopher Bell because of that reason, folks. I can't do it and be disappointed with the second place finish. Denny Hamlin, I thought, had a great run last week at Richmond, and that's his home track, and he loves that track up there. With the way he's been running lately, these are the types of racetrack where he can stick his head up and win fairly easily, or at least compete to get to that win. I'm going with Denny Hamlin this weekend. If I had if I had a second pick, it would be Christopher Bell to win this weekend as well. I think it's going to come down to those 2 guys, teammates, ironically enough, racing this weekend here at New Hampshire. Folks, it's going to be a fun weekend in New Hampshire. We have the Chase coming our way. Final regular season race for the Truck Series. We'll know who's in the race after Saturday morning. Of course, Cup Series have this race, and then after that, Daytona, coming up next weekend to finish up their racing with the O'Reilly Series next weekend. And then, of course, just should be a beautiful backdrop there in Washington, D.C. for the Indy cars. I'm looking so much fun to this weekend. Hope you are as well. Have a great racing weekend. We will see you next week here on the Pit Stop.